Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we'll be taking a deeper dive into our thoughts about what it means to be family.
Yeah, subscribe, like, share, comment. This conversation is about love and marriage, Huntsville, and specifically about Ken and Tricia, right? Go back and watch our review on these past couple episodes so far. I'm like, you know what? This season kind of feel like last season. It's just an extending of last season. But something happened in this episode that Ken said that I want to do a deep dive on, and that a lot of people agree and disagree with him, right? Ken said, hey, these may be your kids, talking to Marques, but they are my family. And I disagree with that 100%, right? And let me tell you why I disagree with that. Trisha's still married. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
She's married to the father of the kids. Legally, you could say they are separated. You could say, hey, the divorce was contested. Well, before the divorce was contested, I had to basically put your arm in a chicken wing to get you to even file for divorce in the first place. Right? And by then, Ken was already embedded in those kids' lives, in my opinion, irresponsibly, while you were still legally married. You get what I'm saying? And now Ken basically had to bring you on the show, or y'all got on the show, and basically putting your feet to the fire saying, get a divorce, get a divorce, get a divorce, get a divorce, because he wants to be married. So when Ken said that, hey, these may be your kids, but this is my family, number one, the intent of that statement is to basically tell Marques that, hey, his word or the weight that he holds in those kids' lives is equal to the father's. And I'm like, it's not. You get what I'm saying? Like, so far, I lay down the foundation. What is your thoughts, Blair?
Yeah, I mean, I am of the belief that you can have chosen family.
Okay.
But when you have legal paperwork defining lines and roles, that Trish is married, those are his biological kids. That's Marques's family, as estranged as he is or not. And I will say, like, Ken has definitely came in and he has stepped up to the plate when it comes to being a provider and a supporter for the children and for Trish. And I think that is a beautiful and amazing thing. But that's why I am of the belief that you don't date people who are going through separations or divorces. I think that it can be really messy. You can get yourself really deep into a situation to where you may not get what you want out of it. And in Ken's situation, he wants to be married to Trish. Trish has made it been known that she may not want to actually get remarried. And so I don't know if this is something that he can be comfortable in the situation of basically dealing with being the boyfriend until she sees otherwise. And I think that part of the keeping up the arguing and all of that type of stuff and making it difficult in the courts, which I think Marques has, but also Trish and Marques took 4 years to actually fill out some paperwork.
Exactly.
I'm just like, I really don't know what their intentions are. I can see that they don't want to be together right now, but I don't know if later down the road maybe they want to come back around and say, hey, we had some hard times but we never got a divorce and we're back at it stronger than ever, or if they really hate each other and they just want to make each other's lives miserable. I really can't tell. I don't know how Ken can 100% back Trish in the situation when he sees that she has a hand in the mess as well. So I think that the whole situation is frustrating, and he is. I think that is Ken's chosen family, but this is actually Marques's family, and Ken doesn't, I feel like, hold any heavier weight or power in this situation because that's them kids' father. They love their dad. A lot of kids love their dads and their moms no matter what they do. And they're going to be wanting their approval and all that type of stuff. And I think that they probably appreciate and love Ken as well, but you're never going to take the place of their father. So it's really no competition. So
and let me slow down. Let me put the brakes on myself for a second, Blair. Right? Because I want to sympathize and actually let people know that, you know what, let me try to actually see it from other people's POV, right? You have a lot of single parents out there, you get what I'm saying, or people who are fresh out of a divorce or going through a divorce, maybe going through a separation, or maybe just a situation to where, you know what, the father just chose, the actual legal father chose not to be in the child's life, right? So whenever a boyfriend come, let's just stick to boyfriend because Ken and Trish is not engaged or married. When a boyfriend come and he chooses to take on the burden of someone else's kids, we could kind of over reward that because it's like, you didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? There is some type of safety to where it's like, you know what? Matter of fact, perfect example. Even though a lot of y'all may not watch Love Island, we had someone on Love Island named Huda, and she basically told someone that she was dating on the show episodes down the line that she was the mom. She was basically hiding it because she was like, usually when I tell people this, it kind of runs them off. They kind of don't know how to take it and things like that. So I kind of take my time letting people know that I'm a mom because, for one, I want to protect my kid, while at the same time, I don't want them to judge me just off of being a single mom. Facts, okay? I can see it from your POV. I'm coming from the POV of, it's better to put all your cards on the table and let the chips fall wherever they may.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There are people out there who are willing, right, who is willing to basically be like, you know what, that's not a stumbling block for me. And for other people that it is a stumbling block for, that person not supposed to be for you anyway.
Right.
You don't want someone to really be with you while the whole time they're saying, when is the father gonna come pick up your kid? Like, you get what I'm saying? You want to provide a safe space for your kids. Now that leads me to Tricia. Right?
Can I just chime in a little bit?
Go ahead.
I think being a single parent or being a single mother is very different from being a married person.
Okay, help me.
Just by the simple fact that you have unfinished business when it comes to your spouse. And yes, someone can come in a single parent relationship and you guys, like, you know, they help support the family and they help support the kids, and that becomes a family, and that actually does become a family.
Yeah.
Because that person is the only and the sole father figure person in those people's lives, because the father is not present. And although Marques may not be physically present, he has a presence in his children's lives.
Yeah.
And it can't be erased no matter how many things that Ken shows up to.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So because he, to your point, he have a presence instead of being present there physically, right? It only makes Ken's contribution transactional, if that makes sense. Because that's why when Ken say things, or when he's basically want to pat himself on the back, he says he's the one that's paying for the daughter's dance. He's the one paying for the son's trip and things like that, taking him to Greece. He's buying him the first car. It's very transactional. Not saying that's a bad thing, but it's also, to your point, hey, being a single parent and actually being like married and going through a divorce, or in Tricia's case haven't even filed, is very different. Because at the end of the day, even though the father's not physically there, I'm sure the son could pick up the phone and call his father.
Right.
I'm sure the daughter could call and pick up her father, right? So this is where it gets tricky now, right? Everything we said makes sense. Now we're about to get into the world of Tricia and Ken, to where we are about to go 5 minutes of not making sense, right? Marques is alluding, right, and I'm only going by what they say, last season, that actually Ken and Tricia got together while they was together. They may have been going through a hard time, but he is basically alluding that Tricia, there was some infidelity on her part. And that's probably why Ken felt so easy to just step in, because he already was in when he was basically talking to Tricia while they was both at the gym. My whole thing with that is, okay, let's say whatever Marques said is true, right? If everything that Marques said is true about that, I can see why Ken is thinking, oh, you're going to marry me, Tricia, because guess what? I got with you while you was, quote unquote, going through a marriage or going through a tough time in your marriage. And during that time, things are probably promised and under-delivered and things like that. And then eventually it gets to the point where he's like, hey, when are we going to actually get to the point where we actually going to be the couple? If that's the case, if that's what happened, if we're going to go through the lens of Marques, I say what Tricia did was 100% irresponsible when it comes to introducing Ken to a whole new dynamic, to where, you know what, I'm going to date this guy, I'm going to embed him in my children's life, while at the same time, I'm not going to legally divorce my husband.
Yeah.
I think like...
Or have any type of like real commitment to my boyfriend.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's creating a mess on all sides. Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, everything makes sense. Or you can basically follow the path of basically, okay, we dated, even if it was, you know, right or wrong. Okay, we are together. Okay, you are now living in the house with the kids. You know what? We bought a house together, which is strange to me. I don't know why Ken would want to be tied to somebody in business and like that way, and buying a house where you're not even legally married to the woman because she's legally married to her ex.
And I will say this. I know a lot of people say, well, what's the big deal about marriage? What's the big deal about the paperwork?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when it comes to going into like buying a house with somebody, by the fact that you're married and you guys are, this is your marital property, this is something that could be split 50-50 between the two of you.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, the way that it can be written in a deed or whatever the case may be, maybe you can have that in contracts that is 50-50 as well. But I think that when it comes to, you know, having that commitment with somebody, that there is, I'm not, how can I say it? Because I just had the argument in my head of people saying like, well, people get divorced, people leave and all this different types of stuff.
Okay.
Like that's true. But if you are in a marriage intending on getting a property with the person that you're married to, like you have that reassurance that this person is in it and trying to be in it with you for the long haul for you to create a future for you guys.
Yeah.
Of course, if things don't work out, that's when you get lawyers and all that type of stuff involved. But to go in it with no type of real reassurance that this person is really here with you, I think is like, it's kind of wild.
It's foolish.
I think it's wild.
It's foolish. Even if you believe in marriage or not, right? Okay, even if you don't believe in marriage, you can at least require of your partner to be divorced.
Yeah.
so both of y'all cannot be married. But she's legally married, meaning that unless there's some other paperwork you have to put on top of like the paperwork and things like that, if something was to happen to Tricia, guess who they go to? The husband.
Yeah, their father.
Literally their father, right? Yeah. Now here's the thing that makes it all confusing. As I said, this conversation gonna be confusing because Ken and Trish is confusing, right? I have to ask, what is the goal, Ken? Because the way he's moving in this season so far, I think his goal is to be married to Trish. I think that's the end goal for Ken, right? And I'm like, oh, if that's your end goal, then the way you've been approaching this season so far in 2 episodes is completely wrong, because he thinks the enemy is Marques. He thinks Marques is the one that's making it hard for him to achieve his goal to be married to Trish. But really, the one that you really need to really be on and basically having conversations with is Trish. Trish is the real op to your goal right here. Because to what Blair said in the review, it doesn't mean that if she was to get the actual divorce to where it's not contested, whoever wrote the paperwork right or wrong, I'm not putting it on whoever. Blair said just because she go to the divorce house in one day doesn't mean she's going across the hall to get married in the same day.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, Marques is not your op here. You over here trying to be peacemaker between Marques and Trish. That's not achieving your goal.
Yeah.
Them getting along doesn't even support your goal at all, right? You need to focus your attention on Trish. What I think happened, this is my opinion. I think what happened was during the whole breakup of Marques and Trish, I think in that time it was hard for her. I think Marques even alluded to the point that, you know what, some deaths was going on in Trish's family. You get what I'm saying? I think during that time, Kim was a comfort. Marques physically left. Like you get what I'm saying? So during that time while Trish was going through there, Ken was basically a good foundation for her to rest on while she was going through a hard time. Now she got stronger. Now, you know, those hard times are passing. And now there's a, you know, sunshine on the other side of it, right? Now she's caught up in the routine of, oh, I get to actually have the cow without buying for it. I can actually continue to have this life. And where, like, why does it matter to you? It's not like Marques here physically. Well, now he is because he's filming for the show. But I think she's like, I can actually get the benefits of basically a stable household without actually me offering stability.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing too, is when Marques, the fact that he left his family, which is abandoning your family.
It is.
And I think that Trish absolutely has a right to do whatever she sees fit in order to make her family work and to keep food on the table and all that type of stuff. But I do believe that when you're introducing someone into an already messy situation, it's only going to get messier.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the fact that Marques left, you would think that would be the point to where you would want to go ahead and move forward with a divorce.
Like for real.
Instead of just avoiding it.
Yeah.
You know, and I will say both of them were avoiding it for years.
Yeah.
And that's the part that makes people look at them crazy. Because what is it that y'all actually want, you know, out of this?
And you get, and guess what? you can file, and you don't need to agree with the person you're filing against to file for divorce and things like that. But she haven't even filed.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
At that time,
and now we are in a situation to where people, I seen somebody in the comments ask this question, and I will answer the question verbally, right? They said, "What this is Ken's family, because what's the difference between basically Kimmi and Maurice and things of that nature, where Kimmi is basically taking on, her stepson and things like that. Stepson, that can only be, called a stepson if you are legally married, but she taking on the stepson and things of that nature, and they basically taking on each other kids, right? Compared to Ken and Tricia. And the most foundational basic answer is Kimmi and Maurice is legally married.
Maurice was divorced.
Yes.
When he was with Kimmi. I know people saying like possible overlaps and all that type of stuff, but he was able to marry Kimmi. He was able to marry her, and they were able to blend their lives together.
Yeah.
This whole hodgepodge that they got going on at the Trish and Ken and Marques house is trifling. It really is.
Now, I'm gonna ask you a question that just came to mind, Blair.
Sure.
If Ken's goal is to marry Trish, right? And he realized that Trish is actually the real stumbling block to the goal, not Marques. They actually get the divorce, and now she says, "I'm not rushing to get married." And he says, "I want to be married," right? Do Ken have the right to get up and leave?
Absolutely.
But he embedded himself in those kids' lives, though.
Yeah, well, I guess he'll just do what he always does and just picks up kids.
You can't kidnap these kids, man.
And those will be his kids, and then the next woman he's with, then those will be his kids too. That's what I'm saying. Ken gets himself in way too deep.
Yeah.
And I get it. You see if she's struggling, you want to help her. This is somebody you're in a relationship with and all that type of stuff. But Trish needs to handle her business. She really has to.
Here's my thing. Your answer is correct, right? But sometimes we don't go for the correct answer. I think if we was to remove all feelings aside, of course he can get up and leave. But everything that he's done for his family, right? He's there for the daughter practices. When something happens at the school calls him. These are all the things that he championed himself, right? The son leans on him and asks him for advice.
And I think that's great that he's decided to take up that role.
Now, if he was to leave, right, we cannot, even though this is not his family, we cannot ignore the fact that that may damage the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, now this is what we mean when we say, when Blair said you got yourself in too deep. You're doing too much, where really the obligation should have been on Tricia to make sure her house was in order before y'all started buying houses and basically living together.
And that's why I say it's great that he is taking on that role, because I'm sure the kids appreciate it. But because you're taking on that role and that responsibility, it's going to be even harder to untether yourself when you're no longer with their mother, or if you're no longer with their mother.
Because you love them kids.
Yeah.
You love them.
Yeah.
And that's why, and that's the only thing I agree with Ken about. Because the father may not be present, but he's a presence, right? He have no choice but to play nice with the actual legal father of the kids, right? But the thing I disagree with, as I'm splitting hairs here, is that you can play nice, and it's your job to make sure the door is open for some reconciliation amongst the father and the kids and things like that, not to champion yourself, to make yourself seem like the real father compared to that. Because you know how Ken was at the graduation party talking about, the real parents, as if they're, okay, Ken, we see you, right?
Yeah.
But you need to, even though you got to play nice with the real father and things like that, I don't think you should be basically being Marques, basically advocate against Tricia, though. Like, what they got going on is complete confusion. There should never be a time to where, like, basically Tricia is the mediator and you and Marques are having a conversation about basically the layout of what's going on.
Right. And I don't think that Ken ever needs to be the mediator between Trish and Marques.
No.
Like, they have a deep history that you weren't around for, and some of them that you might have been around for. They got together really young when Marques says he should have left after the first year. Crazy. So there's a lot of hurt and pain and things that they've probably done to each other over the years. Yeah. And Ken doesn't need to include himself in that. Honestly, if they can't talk, they need to go through their lawyers in the courts, and they just should stop speaking. The kids are old enough to have their own phones.
Exactly.
Like, we have no reason to have these conversations, honestly.
And that's why I'm like, Ken, when it comes down to your girlfriend and Marques,
her husband
mm-hmm. actually getting along or not getting along, that's none of your business.
Yeah.
Your job is to basically, if you want to be there as the boyfriend and be there for her kids and things of that nature, to make sure that you are a bridge at all times between the father and his kids.
I don't even say that. I say, Ken, you just go to the games that you say you're going to. Listen to Trish, complain and cry about whatever she got going on with Marques. But Trish is the bridge, and Marques is his own bridge to his own kids.
As a matter of fact, you're right. You're right.
Ken don't need to be playing co-parent with these people who still married.
So basically, Ken is doing too much.
He's doing honestly way too much. Be there and be there for the kids. Be there for your girlfriend, and whatever she got going on with her husband, listen to it. Be a place of support for her. Mm-hmm. But you don't need to be talking about Marques or how are we going to co-parent me and Ken and Marques. How are we about to co-parent? No, Trish and Marques need to co-parent their own kids.
Facts.
So, and I will say, if he is another adult in the children's lives, and if that's something that Trish wants to pull him into their conversation about how he's going to support the children, mm-hmm. and in what ways, that's a conversation for them to pull him into, not for Ken to pull Trish and try to see if he can mediate it. No,
yeah, that's weird.
It's too much.
Yeah, it is too much. You're right. Mm-hmm. He needs to be his own bridge to his own kids. Mm-hmm. And also, what is the last point that I want to say? Oh, they said something in the first episode about them actually opening up a gym together or trying to open up a gym together.
Right.
And I'm like, why are you still doing these things with this married woman that, like, she needs to get her house in order? I understand you want to go in business with her, but she's not your wife.
Yeah. She's
not your fiance. You are doing very high risk, high reward type of stuff. You get what I'm saying? And I just feels like, based off the body language I'm getting from Trish, but Trish is weird in some ways to where you really can't read her, because she would say one thing, but her actions would do something totally different. I feel like all of this is really pushing Tricia away from both of y'all, to be honest, to mm-hmm. where Tricia would just be like, because we seen that last episode of last season to where talking to Marques is like talking to a brick wall. Well, guess what? Meet his brick wall wife.
Yeah.
Talking to Tricia could get petty too, and that's when all of a sudden you storming out the house talk about, well, let's see how good you do by yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, so that's why I'm like, I don't know if really at the end of the day, to end my point, that you're going to achieve your goal. Because for one, you thinking the person that is against your goal is Marques, and it's really the person that you're actually in a relationship with, and that's Tricia.
Yep.
Anything else you have to add?
That's all I got.
I need you to subscribe, like, share, comment. Let us know what y'all think. Do y'all think that this is Ken's family? Or do y'all think, like, you know what, it's not his family? Marques, that's his family and things like that. And Ken is basically on the outs. Let us know what you think, and we see y'all.
Bye.